We do these speaker events about once a month. We try to pick different topics that we think that will be interesting to people in the communities. I'd like to get over to Ypsi more often than I do, and I'm very grateful that Mark Maynard's working with me on that to make that maybe a little more frequently. Just so you know, our next event, maybe I'll back up even more. Our next event is May 23rd, and that will be in Ann Arbor, Connor O'Neill's, and we're going to have TechArb come out and talk about what they're doing. For those of you who are not familiar with TechArb, it is a student entrepreneurial incubator where students develop at U of M, develop their company ideas and are kind of ushered into creating their businesses. I think that would be the best way. So it should be pretty interesting. I'm hoping we can get a couple of the student entrepreneurs to come out as well to talk about their experiences. Today, we're doing this event with the idea of how do you create a vibrant and successful downtown in Ypsilanti? There's obviously been a lot of exciting developments over the past couple of years, which I think is really encouraging. And Mark and I were chatting about it, and we thought it would be great to look at what people who are actually on the ground working here, how they view it, what works, what doesn't work, what would make things better, what challenges they have. And if you're not familiar with Mark Maynard's blog, and I'm hoping you are, check out markmaynard.com. He does a wonderful mix of local issues and his, I won't say objective political leanings, but but always a very engaged style that I think welcomes pretty much everybody who has an opinion. Just so you know, the Concentrate Speaker Series, we are underwritten by the Michigan State Housing Authority. They underwrite our events each month and they help bring us here. So I encourage you to check out their website. They are very engaged in how communities become more vibrant and successful in Michigan and kind of turn the tide of the narrative that has kind of been weighing the state down over the last decade, I think. I will apologize on behalf of B, who unfortunately had to bow out at the last moment due to childcare issues. And as someone who has kids, I know how that is. And I'm sure Mark knows that situation too. Anybody who's so without further ado, I'm going to ask our guests to come up. I'm not going to bother introducing each one because I'd rather let Mark do that. But if you could give a warm welcome to Mark and the people who've come up to talk about Ypsilanti today. Thanks.
And please, if you want a beer, wine, soft drink, it's on us. Please go ahead and I encourage you to go up and get it whenever you need. Or
hello. Jeff had asked a few months ago, or I guess a month ago or so, we did an event at Connor O'Neill's where I interviewed people that were leaving Ann Arbor. It was an exit interview kind of format where I was asking them why they were leaving Ann Arbor and what they hoped to get elsewhere that they weren't getting in Ann Arbor. And it went really, really well. People liked it. We had a good time. And Jeff said, well, you should do it in Ypsi. And the same thing in Ypsi. So we started to put together a show and an event. And we couldn't find anyone that was leaving Ypsi because it's so awesome. So instead we had this. So this is our fallback plan, was to get some people together to talk about business in Ypsi and kind of why they're here, what they're hoping to get from being here, and kind of the opportunities they see in the future. So we had an event about 8 years ago at the Michigan, at the EMU Business School, where we had a bunch of local business people kind of coming and talking about why they were here and some of the challenges that they saw. I think all that's online. I think if you search it, you can find it, or I'll put something on my blog tomorrow. I'll try to find the video of it. But it was pretty interesting. A lot of people were, I think at that time, the issues were a little bit different than they are today. I'm hoping that we've made some progress over the last 8 years. I think at that time, it was a lot of businesses that didn't really know how to be businesses. I think a lot of the complaints we were hearing from people in the audience were, people that had erratic hours, didn't really, there's probably still some of that in Ypsi, but there seemed to be a sense that a lot of people didn't really understand how to run businesses. I don't know if that's insulting, I'm sorry, but it's true. So I think now our hurdle is somewhat different. I think we have a lot of people that have come in that are doing good work. And this is kind of an unusual grouping of people that we've selected to talk to us today, in that their backgrounds kind of span the whole spectrum of what we deal with when we talk about business. We've got food and retail, and we've got Darryl that does kind of his consultancy, looks at airport design, and they not recently, 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, moved to Ypsi and bought a building here, and they do their work from Ypsi for some reason that I'm hoping he can explain to me, because I never really understood why that was. So maybe we can start by just going down the line and telling who we are, and kind of maybe at the same time why you decided to open a business in Ypsilanti. You can start with Darryl.
Sure. Again, my name is Darryl Daniels, the firm JacobsenDaniels Associates. We are airport planners. We do airport planning and development all over the country. I was just telling Mark, we're working currently on Atlanta's master plan, San Diego, Omaha. We do all that right from Ypsilanti. We're here, though, because of Metro is a major client. And although we started in Ann Arbor, we were in downtown Ann Arbor for a couple of years. We were just growing so fast that we needed more space. We wanted to get closer to the airport. We want to be closer to the airport because from Ypsilanti, it only takes 20 minutes, and we're all flying all the time. So it's just an easy place to get access to the airport. If you're in downtown Ann Arbor, it takes about 45 minutes. You go up Main Street, this and this, it's just too much. So that was one of the main reasons why we needed to be closer to our clients, and then closer to the airport to have access. And I think that's, and then also I want to point out that, Ypsilanti is an aviation mecca of itself, because remember, we got Willow Run here and all the history that kind of goes along with Willow Run. So anyway, that's who we are.
At some point, maybe we can talk about, it's not on my list of things to talk about, but Airtropolis, maybe as we go on.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Kranyak. I'm coming from the Wurst bar down the street, and I guess I've been operating a restaurant in Ohio for quite a few years, and about 2 years ago I started, mapping out places that we would be successful at in Michigan, and Ypsilanti kept popping up at the top of the list, and I eyeballed a lot of properties, and since we opened, we've been, very busy. We far exceeded our sales that we, had figured on doing our first year, and we're in our second year now, and I couldn't have asked for a better spot really, or better clientele. It's a very diverse, area, and of course it's the only place I could have a full beard and all these tattoos and still, manage to operate a successful business. But
can I interrupt for 1 minute and just ask? You said it kept popping up on the list. Why did it pop up on the list? Demographic,
demographics, but mostly because it's such an underutilized area. There's such a large population. There's a lot of, not a lot of big money here, but there's a lot of disposable income among a lot of the residents in the area. And of course, there's a college campus here, which, never mind so much the college students, but you have a lot of faculty and staff that is right across the location and live in the area. They all need a place to eat and drink. And, you go into the places that are open, and they are doing a good job, and they're very busy. There's still places, you could open up a couple more of what I do and still have, waits on Friday and Saturday nights. So you just see a big hole in the market here, and it wasn't very hard to fill it. So.
Eli?
Hello, I'm Eli. I'm from the Rocket. I first came here back in '95. Went to school at Eastern. Fell in love with Ypsilanti. Wanted to see better things here. When I graduated, bought a home here. Did a big renovation. Was really into the city, and I really thought that the downtown was underutilized also. So I was really into the notion of opening some kind of business downtown. And during my years of being in school, I was working in retail, and thought maybe that was probably what I should have done downtown, and that's when my partner and I, Paul, decided to open a business downtown, and we've been down here for 7 years now, and a lot has changed for the better, and we're just glad to be here.
I was going to get to this later, but since you mentioned it, you want to talk a little bit about how things have changed in the time that you've been here? I think of at least the folks here doing food and retail, kind of you're the longest, you've been here the longest. How have things changed over the last 7 years?
Well, as far as the downtown, I mean, there was always certain vibrant areas of Ypsilanti, like, you know, Depot Town was a great area to come to, and just the walk traffic downtown, the people living down there. Since I've been down there, there's more housing downtown, just more people living down there, more interest. You know, things have come and gone over the years, of course, but there's definitely been a drastic change in the amount of people utilizing downtown, being around downtown, and people want to be down there more so than they used to be.
Annette?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Beth Ferry, and I'm from Bona Sera Cafe. We sort of fell into Ypsilanti because we were looking for a location for an underground dinner that we were doing. At that time, we were an underground supper club doing everything nonprofit, and we would donate to different charities every time we would do an event. We saw the great space that we have at 200 West Michigan, which is the old Kresge building, and found out we could get in there for a pittance, basically, far lower than we could in Ann Arbor. And when we started checking around in Ann Arbor, our initial idea was that we wanted to open to have a food truck. We asked Ann Arbor about that, and Ann Arbor said no. So we called Ypsilanti, and Ypsilanti said, sure. So that's one of the reasons we decided to come here, was that the attitude is just so mellow. We love the people here. It fits our personalities, and we're just having a good old time. We've not been in business yet for a year, but in July it will be a year. So we're looking forward to great things for downtown from here on out. So.
One of my questions, I'll jump ahead in my list
Yeah.
of things because it deals with you since you have the microphone. I was wondering about collaboration between different businesses. I interviewed Rob the other day from Go Ice Cream.
Yeah.
And I know that Rob Hess, right?
Yeah, Rob Hess.
Is starting a bicycle delivery service for ice cream. He's making
Yeah.
his own ice cream, and he's working out of your kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about different opportunities for people to work together, and whether it seems like there's a lot of opportunity for that kind of thing, and I don't know that it's happening a lot. I know that there's like Ricky Tikki Pies is selling from Beezy's.
From Bees, yeah.
And like there are a few opportunities like that. And I know you sell T-shirts that are designed by local people to some extent. Mm-hmm. But like, is the ecosystem robust enough, or can we do more? And are there opportunities for business owners to get together? I know that I've had dinner, for instance, with Jesse and B before, and the ideas that come out of those meetings are really fruitful and I think interesting.
Yeah.
Like, do we do enough of that, and is there a mechanism for people to share that kind of information?
I don't think we do enough of that. I think there's plenty of room for everybody to collaborate more. As I said, we haven't really been there for a year, but that's something that we really like to get going. We've kind of started a First Friday. We're trying to start an art walk, basically, in downtown. We're trying to get as many businesses to participate as possible. I think this Friday will be our third First Friday, but we would love to get that going through the summer. There's also lots of different ways I think that we can collaborate with other businesses that we haven't really talked about yet, and if there's a forum for that, I mean, I haven't found it yet, but I'm sure that we could start one.
Yeah, I don't want to bash other organizations that already exist, because it seems like there's some people that should be doing that kind of thing but aren't. Do you know, without naming names, do you know what I'm getting at?
Eli?
Well, what's your question on that?
If somebody really wanted to support local business, what would they be doing to do that? I mean, like should there be more opportunities like this for us to talk about, working together and doing things and collaborating? I mean, it seems like there's a huge opportunity there that we're missing to kind of all kind of share best practices and kind of you know, this is working, this isn't working, these are my hours, can you coordinate your hours, I'm doing an art walk, can you, I mean, are there opportunities for people to talk? Like, I'm not aware of them if they exist.
I think they are, but, you know, I don't want to be negative. I think things are a little fragmented sometimes in this town, and I would like to see things come together more. Sometimes it seems like it's us against them, or the students against them, or whatever, and it just seems like...
Well, we also have different areas of downtown. I mean, it's difficult with downtown and downtown.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely more collaboration. You know, of course, you're a new business, you know.
Yeah.
I've done it, you know, I've joined organizations, I've put my 2 cents in, I've tried it, you know, I've tried different things, you know. There's a point where you become a little bit tired. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about that. But yeah, definitely, I mean, I would like to see new blood step in and, you know, get a forum going and let us all talk about what we can do to work together to package this town, definitely.
How would you, well, Darryl has this.
I was going to say, part of this too is we have to know that you're there.
Yeah.
You know, in my building, there are probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 tenants, and I would venture to say some people don't even know that they're there because they just kind of come in, do their thing, and they leave.
Yeah.
Across the street from us is the Centennial building, you know, the kind of taller building. And I don't think I know anybody in that building, you know, so, you know, there's a, okay. Yeah, so, I mean, there needs to be some kind of directory or something that we know that you're there, and and I can use your services, and that we can collaborate. I mean, I have to go kind of figure out who's where. But, you know, I can't do that if I'm flying all over the place, and, you know, my time is limited, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more business owners come in my store and say, hey, Eli, how's it going? You know, how's business? You know, what's going on? You know, but, you know, it is starting to happen more and more. It really is. I mean, you know, I've been down in town for 7 years, and, you know, it went from me seeing maybe 1 or 2 business owners downtown in a week to, you know, people coming through. You know, I make a point to try to go through to talk to people or whatever. You know, it is slowly happening. It really is. I mean, I don't want to sound too positive, but I really do believe it is. You know, it's been a slow progress, and, you know, it's not going to happen overnight.
I was going to save this question for later, but I'm curious as to what you think opportunities are in the future for, like, knowing what you guys know about having done business in Ypsi. I know Darryl mentioned being close to the airport. It seems like there are probably other businesses that would also benefit from the proximity to the airport. Knowing what you guys know about being downtown, having done business there, or on Cross Street across from EMU. I mean, I think Sweetwater's is doing probably pretty good business right now. Like, bringing people across Cross Street to your side of Cross Street. Like, what are the opportunities? What are we missing downtown? And where could people have, what's next for Ypsi in terms of, now that you've been a year in business now, like, what do you think we're missing? I know you told me a gym before, right?
Yeah, it said, well, we have, there's I can't remember the name of it. Ypsi Studio, and then there's the bigger gym right down Washtenaw with the little lunk alarm, they call that one, Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
And, but I was thinking something, you know, maybe in the downtown area, something that was open 24 hours, you know, but that was just one idea I had. I think what's going to happen next is there's so many buildings down there that are still not built out for residents. You have a 100% occupancy rate in all those buildings downtown, and I tried to get a loft downtown. I've tried for a year and a half to get a loft downtown, and it's always, oh, there's one available in 8 months, and then they'll email you, you know, 3 months out.
I think that's just you, Jesse.
Yeah, you know. No, I mean, there's a waiting list for all that housing, and that means that those undeveloped areas would also, you know, be rented out. So as soon as someone picks up on that, that's more residents downtown, and that will get those storefronts, you know, opened up. You know.
What kind of storefronts? What kind of opportunity? What are we missing downtown?
Well, let me jump in here, because a few years ago I did a survey. I walked around downtown because I wanted to understand who's here, and I found that the largest group would be I call the personal services group. You know, the barber and the beauty shops. Now, I got a lot of negative comments. A lot of people say, "Well, we got too many of those." Okay, well, but they're here. and what do they need to be thriving and successful businesses? Well, what I kept hearing from them is that we need a beauty supply place, because we have to go to Washtenaw Road or whatever road it is to get beauty supplies. If we had a beauty supply place downtown, then we could just get our things from here. And we also learned that those braiding places and so they spend a lot of money. People spend a lot of money to get their hair fixed. You know, I can't believe it. You know, it's really very high. But even I, who spend $20 a week to get my hair cut, you know, it's still a lot, you know, quite frankly. But so I think you have to look and assess what's there and how do you leverage the needs for the people who are there. And as I made this comment about the airport, you're right. When we were looking, we looked around the airport, and there really were no Class A type office spaces near the airport. Nothing in Romulus, you know, nothing. You know, you had to go to Dearborn. So again, that's something that we could do to market ourselves to people who want to be near an airport or want near and have access to that kind of transportation.
Do you have thoughts, before we talk more about Aerotropolis and air stuff, do you have more thoughts on what might work downtown?
One of the things that really strikes me that is missing from downtown is a grocery store. There is really, I mean, you go to Kroger's on Michigan Avenue, you can go to Kroger's on Whitaker Road, but if you want something walkable, just to get something basic, there's really nowhere to go.
You don't think Dos Hermanos meets that need?
Well, sort of, but a more to a certain extent they're a little specialized, but someplace that offers, you know, something with a little more variety would be great. There's really no place downtown like that. You're right, Dos Hermanos does sort of fill those basic needs, but, you know, if you're looking for...
And we didn't have them. I mean, I think 8 years ago when we had this session that was similar to this one, the thing that kept, we asked people to vote on a wall with what they needed downtown.
Yeah.
And the thing that kept coming up was a grocery store, grocery store, grocery store. And I know the co-op for a while talked about opening a second location, like on Water Street or somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And then Dos Hermanos came in. It does fill part of that gap, but it's, I mean, it's maybe not everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely one thing. Eli, other ideas?
Well, I just want to reiterate what she had said. I mean, I hear a lot of these people that live downtown that want a grocery store nearby to walk to. Yeah, I mean, you can go to Dos Hermanos and, you know, get a few things, but, you know, are people really looking for Dos Hermanos that live downtown? I mean, that's another question we need to ask ourselves. I think that they want other type of stuff. They might want a second co-op downtown or something that'll, you know, fulfill those needs. And, you know, it's I would like a clothing store or a place I can go buy a pair of shoes or something downtown. I mean, I don't want to get on the road to go to the mall or, you know. I mean, I think a lot of people say the same thing.
I thought Murph was here somewhere, but Murph used to always talk about getting someplace like Sam's in Ann Arbor,
Right.
like in Ann Arbor, in like utilitarian clothing, just basics.
Yeah,
like
you know, I mean, I think there's a demand for that, you know, definitely. I mean, and I'm not just saying that, I really do believe that.
I was at that session that you talked about where we put on the wall what we needed, and you would hear things like, well, we needed cleaners. Well, somebody said, well, we have a cleaner. Well, we need a hardware store. Well, we have a hardware store. You know, we have a grocery store. You know, and then that came along. And we need an ice cream shop, and we needed this. But amazingly, there was actually a lot of stuff that was already downtown that we were not fully utilizing, you know, because we would take our services someplace else, or we just were not aware that they were already there.
That might bring me to my next question, which is how the city could do better at supporting our local businesses. Because you're right. I mean, there are people that use, I don't use a dry cleaner that often, but there's one on the way to work. I typically stop out. I don't go to the one that's 3 blocks from my house, right?
The drugstore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there are a number of things that we all do because it's not proximate to us and it's not just convenient on our path. Like, how could we better support our local businesses, and maybe talking also about EMU and like how do we bring EMU more, make them more part of our community. I think over the last few years, it seems to me campus on the other side of campus, away from the city, and to kind of pull away more from the city. You know, how do we encourage them to cross more? I think what Jesse's doing at Wurst Bar is helping with that. I think Sweetwater's now is helping with that, kind of bringing people across the street so that they kind of experience the city. But how do we break through that that wall that's been there for the last 20 years or so?
Well, one thing I've always found, you know, strange, and I did go to Eastern Michigan for a few years, is that the school itself doesn't invest into the community, you know, along the street there where the campus is at. I think that one thing that attracts a lot of students to a school is what they can do off campus when they're not in school. And Eastern just keeps saying, oh, we're just a commuter school, we're just a commuter school, but the entire neighborhood is filled with Eastern Michigan students. If you raise the caliber of the streets around it, you'll increase the caliber of student you can attract to the school, you know, thereby you get more, you know, applicants. You can raise your standards for who you accept, and thereby it's like a business to me. So Eastern Michigan, I feel, fails Ypsilanti in kind of working with it to increase.
I will remind Jesse this is being videotaped.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Well, and Jesse, I want to add though, because there have been some things done over the last few years, particularly in collaboration with the Eastern Leaders Group and with the YDDA from the facade improvement program. I mean, there are a number of and the signage program. I served on the YDDA, so I was a bit aware of some of the stuff that was going on with the Downtown Development Association and in Eastern. This stuff may not be widely publicized, and maybe a lot of people don't see it, but the facade improvement program was a huge boost to downtown in terms of getting downtown business owners and building owners to renovate their businesses. So that kind of collaboration is happening. I don't know what's happening around your street or your bar or in the rest, but that is happening with the downtown association.
And EMU also has, I think they still do the bus tour of incoming freshmen, where they give them some phony dollars to come and spend. If you guys could talk about how that is working or not working.
You know, just over the last couple of years, the change of leadership in the university, there is more community outreach than there used to be. I've noticed it. You have people coming into my store, you saying, hey, sign up for this, come to campus, set up on campus, advertise with the beginning, I think they call it Eastern Fest. They bring the students downtown. There's definitely more than what there used to be. I used to be pretty critical of it, of the university too, as far as their outreach when I first started. But I will say over the last couple of years, they have stepped up to the plate more, and we're definitely seeing more students downtown than we ever have. And I think that the businesses have, it's a two-way street. I was having this discussion earlier. Businesses have to go in there too and try to, you know, get a handle in there too. And, you know, if you can do that and figure out how to do that, then I think you're gonna get some more students downtown, definitely. So, I mean, I've seen some changes for the better as far as that goes.
You know what, we've been in existence not even a year yet, so it's hard to gauge how things were before as opposed to how they are now. But I think they're called Eagle Bucks, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Last year we participated in that program. We didn't really take advantage of Eastern's invitation to go onto their campus to show what we have to offer to the students. So this year we definitely will. We're going to take advantage of everything that EMU has to offer. I do see, even in the short time that we've been here, I do see a difference in the amount of students downtown versus last year. So I think some things are changing. I think Red Rock is a big draw as well, the success of Red Rock. So.
I have a question on here that I was going to put off till later, but I don't want to run out of time because I think we also want to take some questions. Pieces of advice. I know that you know, we mentioned Rob before, who's going into business for himself, doing his bicycle delivery system of ice cream and stuff. What kind of advice, if you each had one kind of piece of advice for somebody that says, I think I want to open something in Ypsi, what have you learned that if you could distill it into one kind of coherent thought as to do this or don't do this, or it doesn't matter how kind of far out or crazy it is, like, you know, I mean, I'm just kind of curious if you could each offer one piece of.
Sure, I'll start. In the Key Bank building, there's the SBDTC Technical Center, something like that. So even though we were a fairly advanced business, we still went to them for services. And they were very, very helpful and helped us to look at stuff more strategically. So what I've been doing is recommending to some of my tenants, go talk to those guys. If you're just starting out in your business, get their help in understanding your business plan, your strategies, and on and on and on. They didn't even know that they were there.
And they don't, as I understand it, they don't have restrictions with regard to the kind of business that you are either. They don't, like Spark looks more at tech companies. Exactly. SBTDC will help you if you're a nail company, if you're a hair company, anyone, right?
Exactly.
And they're funded by the state. It doesn't cost you anything to avail yourself of their services. Right?
Absolutely true. And because I'm telling you, we're having businesses enter into our market where I have one tenant who has trouble writing a check. So, you know, that's what we're dealing with. And I think we have to help people at that level in order to be successful.
I think for us, well, I mean, there's so many things you can do, but the biggest help in the last year of business for me has been social media and just reaching out to the community, you know, and keeping our customers in the loop of what we're doing and whatnot. We had mentioned earlier something about some people not knowing what businesses are around. When I need a local, you know, a local service, I just put a post up and ask, and you know, I get tons of responses of, you know, from the local community. So there's a good communication there between myself and our customers that we've grown to, you know, thousands of people. So that's been a very big help.
I think having standards, you know, keeping your things clean, utilizing technology, social media. I mean, people are probably sick of us right now, but we post something every day on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. But you know, you have to utilize your email services and stuff like that. I mean, definitely technology is really important in today's business, and I think you definitely have to be in it. If you're not, you're going to have a hard time. Good networking. I mean, I owned a home here. I participated in you know, local neighborhood associations and stuff like that. So I kind of knew some of the people in town already. So I kind of had a little bit of a head start to begin with. But you know, I think overall standards. You know, don't go into a business that you've never have done before. Not a good idea if you don't know anything about it. You know, if you woke up one morning and said, oh, I want to open up a restaurant, you've never even flipped a burger or, you know, whatever, it's probably not a good idea, you know. So I think that's my biggest advice to anybody. You probably should have had your hand in it at one point in your life, definitely.
Okay, I guess this deals specifically with Ypsi. I would say, if you're looking to open a business in Ypsi, don't be afraid to ask anybody anything. And that includes the city. We found the city to be really easy to deal with, to try to solve your problems when you have problems. They're really open, they're really mellow. That's part of the reason we're here. That's part of the reason we like being here. And if something doesn't exist, Ypsi's a great place to like think it up and make it happen. That's one of the really great things about Ypsi.
I would agree with you. Somebody wrote a letter to me, though, when they found out that we were doing this and said, ask them about the historic district. It's so hard to make changes to your buildings. And this, I have an experience. I have a historic home in the district, and I haven't experienced this, but I'm just curious, is it really that restrictive? I mean, I didn't think it was, but.
No, not at all. I mean, they have standards, but it's not that restrictive.
They allowed me to paint my store yellow, so.
One of the other letters that we received and this came in through Jeff at Concentrate, when we told him that, when he told people that we were doing this session, they wanted us to ask about events like Heritage Festival and how we better kind of all get on the same page when we have events like that, so that how we more bring people out to our businesses like to your restaurants or to the Rocket, from Heritage Festival, and how we help promote those events. Like, are we doing enough right now to be a part of the community? And I think, like somebody had mentioned to me, for instance, and this is probably not the norm, but a local business closing down during Heritage Festival because they just saw it as being too much of a hassle, where it seems like if you really want to put your best foot forward and present yourself as a functioning city, you would discourage people from closing down their shops during the time when you're going to get 5,000 people downtown a day.
I don't know, maybe the food and retail folks can answer this better, but I do remember being in downtown Ann Arbor doing art fair, and I did want to close my doors, and I did not have anything to do with that. And then also, I've heard business owners, even here in Depot Town, say that during the Heritage Festival is the worst time for them because it does impact their business, but not in a positive way. So I think you're right. We do need to figure out how to collaborate and make sure that happens and it impacts it in a positive way.
I mean, we went all out for it. I mean, the first year we were open during the Heritage Festival, we put like a sidewalk sale out there and stuff like that. And I think it's important for businesses to try to collaborate with these types of things. They may find it may not work, and it's okay. You can fall back a little bit, but at least try. I mean, that's my best advice. It might work for you.
I just agree.
And one other thing, I would say, because I'm right where they have the Crossroads Music Festival, I think on Fridays, and what I had told them was, the fact that the festival starts at 7, but my people start leaving the office at 5. They're not going to stick around till 7. You got to have something that if they walk out the office, they see it, and then they'll be there involved. And I think I got the response, well, it's really more family oriented for the people in the neighborhood. So, and maybe that's fine, and that's how it worked, so people can walk over at 7 o'clock after they get back from work. But for those of us who work downtown, leaving at 5, we're not going to wait around till 7 for the festival.
This is just a pet peeve of mine, and since I have a microphone, I'm just going to say it. But the like one of the things that bothers me is we have a lot of storefronts downtown, maybe not as many as we used to, that are tax preparation places that are open 2 months a year, and it just seems like that just sucks the life out of our city. And I don't know if we need to put more pressure on our landlords to say you need to try something different. You need to. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. It's always depressing to me when you walk by several of these places that are just. I mean, they're basically there just to suck money out of the poor community that doesn't know how to do their own taxes, right?
You can get it done for free. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have the store down there. I've heard it all the time. I've heard my customers tell me all the time. Obviously you want some accounting and stuff like that in your downtown. I mean, come on. But there's a little too many of them, and they're not open most of the year. So yeah, it definitely gives people this perception that your downtown is closed down, that you have vacant storefronts, and little do they know is that most of the storefronts actually downtown are full. I mean, there's only a couple that I can think of that are empty, but because they're part-time businesses and such, yeah, it's definitely something that we need to overcome. You can definitely tell the difference between the landlords that are really proactive and they really want to get people in businesses, and the ones that are just kind of selling themselves short and just letting anybody up. Anybody they can in there, or so forth. So I don't know. I was lucky enough to have 2 really good landlords downtown. When I first came downtown, he was really good with my rent. We did a tier system. He really wanted someone to fill that space, and it shows right now because within a couple months of us leaving that store, when we moved across the street, he already had another tenant in there already. So I think that is the big issue, is getting people into their businesses and the right kind of businesses.
Yeah. I agree. We have a pretty good relationship with our landlord right now, and he and she are making it possible for us to be here as a young business and continue to stay where we are and sort of grow comfortably. So I really have nothing to complain about in terms of my landlord.
was always one of the double-edged sword of Ypsilanti is that the rents are cheap enough that you can explore new things, but then also rents are cheap enough that you can explore new things when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Right? So it's like, it's kind of, yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where the landlord discretion comes in, I think, you know, but.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a landlord, clearly, you know, I think there are cases where you have some who are in the business of being landlords and some, probably like me, who is in the business of something else, and you happen to be a landlord and you're trying to get whoever you can in there to do what you can. Believe me, you know, you want to get a sustainable business. I would not want a business just there just for 2 months out the year. That just doesn't mean no good. So, you know, it's a matter of trying to find the right tenant that will fit the space that you have. And that's one of the things that we've learned is that some of our spaces are either too large, especially on the ground floor for certain tenants, or they would come with improvement costs that we just can't afford.
Open up to questions in a minute. I know a guy in Ann Arbor who had a company who was he was out by the airport and one of the tech parks. And he had always bemoaned the fact that Ann Arbor had changed since he was an undergraduate there. He said it used to be a great city, and now it's no longer. He was very adamant about, you know, Drake's had closed, other things that had closed that he had a special affinity for, and he wanted to be in a city again. So he came to Ypsilanti, and I had told him to look at a certain property. He again, I wasn't there with him, so I don't know. He says he came to look at the property one day and saw a fist fight in the street, and decided not to do it because he thought it was too scary for his population, his employees. So he went and bought a facility in Saline, and where he now has 35 employees downtown, and that could have been in Ypsi. Is there this hurdle that we just can't cross? Like, it seems like I'm always concerned. Like, it seems like I don't know who in their right mind would want to be in a tech park outside of Ann Arbor that's around nothing, just in the middle of a field. When they could be in a downtown where they could walk to Bona, Sera, or they could walk to Wurst bar, or get a lap dance, whatever. But like, who would want to do that? Like at the Wurst bar. Wurst bar has lap dances now, by the way. But like, who would want to do that? Like, I don't understand. It seems like there's a huge opportunity there for people that want to be a part of an authentic community, but we just can't cross that hurdle, that threshold. And obviously with Darryl, we did that. You know.
Well, I mean, I always kind of like giggle a little bit when people get upset about seeing it. I suppose there is some sort of, people are concerned about the atmosphere downtown. But I used to live in San Francisco for 8 years. My partner Barb used to live in Chicago. So to us, it's like, what? You know, what's the big deal? I think if you're a business owner downtown, you have to claim your space. And if you do that, and you do it in a respectful, nice way, people are going to be respectful and nice to you, and they're going to let you have your space. So, there might be a hurdle. My only solution to it is to just try to live downtown in a respectful way, and I think, you know, most people will respect you in return.
I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, same for us. We don't really have too many problems. I know there were some break-ins on the street this last month, but they caught the guy that did it, and I really can't think of any real big issues that I've had, you know, at all.
I mean, part of it is the actual crimes, and part of it is the perception, right? Yeah. So the perception is very much different. It's skewed by people like the AnnArbor.com that write about every single crime that we have. If somebody steals somebody's like pocket change, it becomes a front page story.
Exactly.
I can tell you this, that in Ohio, my other restaurant's on an island. It's a very high income area. There's very low crime. I kick somebody out of that restaurant, physically remove them from the restaurant at least once every other week. There's an incident, and that's a restaurant. At this bar on a college campus, we've kicked one person out in the whole entire year. First year we were open, and he was coming from the beer fest. He never even came. We just wouldn't let him in. So, you know, think about that. We don't have problems in our area.
I think there are some structural issues. For instance, if you wanted to come downtown and bring 35 employees, I'm not quite sure where you would go. You know, that's a pretty big space that I don't believe, we have spaces for 2 offices or 1 office or 3 offices, but when you start getting into those larger spaces, because we just don't have the space. I don't have the space in my building, and I've had people come asking for more space, and I didn't even know where to tell them to go. So that's maybe why they end out into some of these airport parks. And I think the other thing is parking. You know, we may have solved some of our parking issues, but again, if you are working downtown and you need to park for 8 hours, you know, you got to have a place where your employees can park and where your clients can come and park and pay, you know, in a meter or whatever. Again, I think we've solved some of those issues, but I think there's some structural things that we have to deal with that other smaller towns seem to be managing.
Other thoughts on parking while we're touching on it? It was going to be one of my questions, but is it all right with you guys? I mean, there are no meters in front of your place or your place or your place, right? You have meters. Okay.
I would like meters in front of my place.
You would like meters
Yeah.
because people are parking all day.
I would.
All right.
Yes.
And have you talked to the city about that? Is it
Oh, yeah.
been receptive? Or?
I've talked, and you know, they're talking about it. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what they're wanting to do, but you know, I mean, me and Paul have no problem telling them what we think as far as parking goes. Definitely, you know, and it's real. The last couple of years, the problem has become more of an issue because there are more people living downtown. There are more people working down there. There are more businesses down there. So yeah, I mean, there is a limited amount of parking downtown, definitely. And you know, you want to see that flow of people coming and going, and part of that is maybe throwing a meter out there or limiting your parking closer into your downtown to, you know, a pay parking, and then if you want to stay all day in downtown, then park out farther, you know. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of my big issues right now.
I had a question before we open up to people in the audience about Water Street. I know that there's been some, you know, there's obviously been talk about the dollar store on Water Street. I had come out against it, saying that I thought we had other dollar stores, and I thought that it might set the wrong tone for that development going forward, because you have 38 acres, and it's like if your first little development is a dollar store, I think it's going to lead to more of that, more just strip mall kind of stuff. Or, I'm curious as to what other people think, whether they think it's important or whether we shouldn't care about that, or whether we should be receptive to whoever wants to invest, because clearly the property's been vacant for 12 years. And I mean, do you believe in the free market, and whatever's going to be there is going to be there? I mean, I don't know.
I believe in the free market, but I also think that there's a reason why we do have a planning department and people in our city that will steer the development in the right direction. And you know, is it a dollar store that I'm against? Totally not. I mean, I don't care. I mean, there's 2 vacant buildings downtown that a dollar store could go into right now. There's a reason why they picked that place. You know, they need parking, and they want access to, you know, low income walkable traffic. And I think that's going to set the tone for the rest of the development, definitely. I mean, maybe one year it will change and they'll move out, but in the near future to the next 20 years, I personally do not think it's a really good idea. You know, I mean, can I do anything about it? No, but that's just what I'm putting out there.
Annette, you're on that same block, or right up the street from that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Eli. I don't really see that there's much we can do about it. I'm not particularly happy about it, but
I did look for, I'll just interrupt for a second. I did look into the company, and they pay on average 3 cents above minimum wage nationwide. So
3 cents above minimum
yeah,
wage?
so 3 cents above. So it's a decent job.
Exactly. I should apply for that.
You can't. Darryl, did you?
Well, I mean, I agree that the dollar store could be in other buildings, but my point to the planning folks is if you're going to put it there, then let's work with the design of the building. Let's make sure that it's designed in a way that it fits the sidewalk and the site. So when you do add new things to the site, you know, it becomes more of a community. So that was one of my point. You know, I shop at the dollar store. You know, I don't have any issues with this to any great extent. I think that would really help some of the folks in walking distance to it. Guys, we've tried everything. You know, we've looked at everything for that site. So, I mean, I'm not ready to give up, but I do believe as they plan it, they need to plan it with a certain kind of design aesthetic.
Unless anyone has anything else to add, I'll open it up for some questions. I think that maybe somebody might have something to say. No? There's a lady right here with her, I can't see you because of the light. It's very mysterious. So you see like a shadow raising her hand. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
I don't, oh, hey, I didn't recognize you.
I'm glowing.
Yeah.
Well, I live right up on Washtenaw, like by the entrance to EMU, and we were like really happy when businesses opened along there that we could walk to, like especially the Wurst bar, because we can leave our kids and walk down and have some drinks.
Just lock the doors and leave them in the house.
Yeah, we have a dog, so you know the dog
I think
watches
most of the patrons of the Wurst party do that.
But to the other side of town, there's not a whole lot going on. Like, I'm really happy when I drive by the Blue Wolf Grill and it's like packed. And then the Faux House opened across the street from it. But then there's that shopping center on Mansfield and Cross where, you know, there was a Sunshine Market and I used to walk there with my girls. I'd be so excited we could walk to a grocery store, and nothing really became of that. And I wonder if anybody's like reached out to that part of the neighborhood, because I mean we walked to Dom's Donuts. I know that Pinter's they're going to be opening Amos there, and I really think that's a missed opportunity on that street.
I'll just repeat your question for the video and everything. You're asking about the other side of Ypsi around the Washtenaw corridor, where Sunshine Market used to be, and why we can't do more to attract the right kinds of companies there, right?
Well, I'll just jump in, I guess. When I went to school here and living here the last couple years, I almost felt like that area wasn't even really part of the whole downtown Ypsilanti area. Nothing really ties it together. Dom's Donuts is kind of where I used to feel the cutoff was. You know, I think of all those businesses now. Thai is one of my favorite restaurants, and but I think that it lacks like congruity. You know, is that the right word for this? It kind of seems like it's separated from the rest of Ypsilanti.
But I know that there's a lot of students still that live in housing out towards that, because my husband and I did before we bought our house here in Ypsi. And so I think the foot traffic could be pretty good, especially along the bus stops. But I just don't know, I didn't know if there was any kind of like combined, you know, where people actually reached out to those kinds of businesses.
I'd be curious to know the experience of the people that ran Sunshine Market as to how successful they were and why they closed, because it seems like behind there's a huge opportunity. So I don't know why they didn't do well in that location.
Are there even sidewalks over there? I mean, part of the area, there are not even sidewalks. So
It's getting better.
yeah, but I'm just saying that kind of ties into the development. I mean, if you're wanting, you know, more of a walkable area and students going into the businesses that do not maybe have cars. I mean, I don't know, I've walked through there, I've gone on my walks through there, and I find it kind of dangerous sometimes because there are some areas that you can't really walk through. So yeah, I think that it's an infrastructure issue more so than, you know, the traffic's kind of fast through there, you know, you have to turn really quick or you're gonna get hit, you know, I don't know. I think that's the big issue over there.
For a very short period of time, I worked at the Kinko's that used to be in that same location, and it was not the high point of my life. I'll just add that. So. Yeah, there was a fellow here in the back that had his hand up first, and then I'll come back to you in the front. The gentleman.
Well, not as much a question, but a couple of statements.
Just compliments.
Yes, and I'm Tim Kolbeck. I'm the director of the DDA, and I wanted to recognize the panel for a couple things, which is you guys saw an opportunity for very unique businesses in Ypsilanti, and you made it happen. And I think that's a lot of the strength of Ypsilanti. And then B, I want to thank you for the comments you're making tonight, because sometimes I think, you know, maybe you don't feel you're being heard. You're being heard. You know, there are a lot of things that I'm sitting here very emphatically agreeing with you on. And I don't mean, maybe we're not doing things as quickly as you would like, but I hear what you're saying. We want to make this happen. I think that Ypsilanti is a fantastic community and it's a great place to do business. And I just want to thank you, again, for a lot of things.
The gentleman in the hat had a question.
Actually, two, if I may.
Okay.
One of them is pretty brief. My business partner here, Lane, and I have been looking into opening a restaurant in Ann Arbor for some time. And recently, after much frustration, we've expanded our search. And here we are. Actually, Lane works here across from this gentleman.
And I grew up here, so.
And we're really, really, really feeling it tonight. So thank you all. This is really exciting. But one of the things, as I was just walking up and down Michigan Avenue, why hasn't anyone slowed down traffic downtown? Every other downtown across the country, it's 25 miles an hour. I almost got run over 3 times.
Nat, do you want to take the mic so we can hear you?
Slow it down.
Yeah, I think that every day when I look out my windows, I'm just like, why? Well, first of all, it's kind of scary, frankly,
Very scary.
as a pedestrian. And I see kids on the street every day, and these cars are like whipping.
Yeah.
Well, we had our door taken out.
Yes.
You remember that? It's like.
That's just because they didn't like the shrimp and grits.
Well, true. Yeah, but they were wrong, Mark.
Yeah, they were so wrong.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't know why they haven't slowed down traffic.
I think it's my understanding that some things have been done. Like
Really?
I think they've slowly. Like I think the medians came. Who knows when the medians came? Or Murph can tell us. Richard Murphy.
The city has no control over speed limits on Michigan Avenue. Michigan Department of Transportation and the state police set those speed limits. So contact your state representative.
Okay.
That's called passing the buck.
Everybody.
But the medians were put in with the intention of slowing the traffic, right? I mean, we have done some things.
The only
Is that
thing that
not right?
saved my life were the
No. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the medians is somewhere to jump when you're about to be hit. All right, the gentleman. Oh, he said he had 2 questions, so we'll go back to him for one more.
And the other, and this is a quick question as well, and hopefully you'll have as quick an answer. There are development dollars in other downtowns across the states. I have good friends that just opened up their second tea room downtown Adrian, and there's money from the state there to develop. There's all sorts of redevelopment happening downtown and money going into downtown Adrian. Is that happening here, and why not if it isn't?
I was part of, we moved into the Mellencamp redevelopment recently, 2 years ago. And from what I understand, they did have a rehab credit, and that's what made that path possible and economical for them. So it is going on, definitely. Some people are taking advantage of that. If you're a new business wanting to move into downtown, I don't know much about that. I don't know if there's credits there or such, but there are landlords and property owners that are taking advantage of those credits, though, to rehab their properties or to renovate or such. So we wouldn't be where we're at now if that wasn't for that. Sure.
Right, and I will say we would not have been able to purchase our building without the help of an SBA 50.
Oh, we know that.
Something like that, yeah. And working with Key Bank, and I have to say, shout out to them because they were very creative in making that happen.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just ask what kind of restaurant you guys are thinking about? It's a secret. You haven't decided yet? You don't have to say. I'm just curious.
You're gonna love it.
Thanks. All right, I'm sure I will. So the guy in the jacket back there.
Yeah, actually, I had I kind of left a question, but almost more answered a little bit for his question I had a moment ago. So recently, City of Ypsilanti has been going through a master planning process, and to kind of piggyback off what you said, some of the major recommendations that came out of that is slowing down speeds on Michigan Avenue, turning some of our one-ways into two-ways, and kind of reforming the way our city kind of moves about with its high-speed areas. So over the last 4 or 5 months, they've been surveying a lot of people in different neighborhoods as well as business owners, and kind of getting a feel for the problems that exist with those same issues. So I just want to let you know, I mean, that's a part of the city master plan. I can't speak to that outside of me being very involved in the meetings, but that's something that definitely the city has recognized and is working through the master plan to, you know, hopefully one day envision a new future for that is better for our small businesses and our residents related to real estate. So I just wanted to make a statement, shameless plug.
Thank you.
Anyone else? There was a woman here in the green.
Yeah, hi guys. So we are also a young company and we're housed at Sparky's, we're Reconsider. And one of the things we've been talking about is how we could bring all the business owners and the up and coming entrepreneurs together for the kind of collaboration that you said you felt was kind of lacking. So just out of curiosity, how many hours a month would you guys spend in that kind of collaborative environment where you're coming to a place, and maybe it's not just, you know, open networking because we have the chamber for that, but it's a working sort of how can we work together and collaborate on projects? How many hours a month, give or take, do you think we spend? 5. 4?
3.
2. Yeah, I was gonna say 2 to 4, 2 to 4 hours. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think that's another hand somewhere. No?
I have a question. I'm far more selfish than you wonderful people, and I really
selfish.
Mostly in Ypsilanti want a place where I can get a burrito for $5.
That's from Mona's tacos for dollars.
They do. They do. It's not burrito.
And tamales.
Burritos are 2 different
They're 2 different things.
Oh,
So I guess, and I've got all sorts of other crazy ideas. But making burritos, eating burritos is my passion, but not making them. So I guess as a resident, as a someone who works downtown, I live downtown. I want to support local businesses. I want to help find people to move here. I want to do whatever I can do to help those kinds of things happen and help open those businesses that would be useful to me in my day-to-day life. What can I do? What would be helpful?
I heard a rumor that the Elbow Room was bought.
Yeah.
And it's being turned into a Mexican restaurant, so your dreams are probably coming true.
It was only a matter of time for a burrito to come downtown. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Not the same.
I think you should just voice your, when you go into your stores, talk about that to the business owners and say, hey, we need this, or, we relay things. People come in all the time and ask us, hey, I want to open such and such down here, or, we tell them what's going on and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I just want I wish there was.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, I'm with you because I wish we had a place where I could just go and almost like Whole Foods, fix your own little your food that's already ready to go and then go. I don't sometimes have time to order in a restaurant. I want to just get something and then get up out of there and get back to my desk. But we don't have anything like that. Although I think the co-op around here,
We're working on it.
Okay, good.
You're also working on a liquor license, right? Or not? Because you need a liquor license.
This was not in our original business plan, the liquor license. We're still considering it, but that's a lot of money, eh? That's a heck of a lot of money.
Well, can you bring your own wine?
Ones are 20 grand.
Pardon me? A redevelopment liquor license is 20 grand, but it's attached to a premises. So it's not like Class C where we could, say if we wanted to have a different location, another location, we can't take it with us. It sticks with the Kresge building. So.
Can we bring a bottle of wine?
There's no BYOB law in Michigan. I hear that some local businesses, I'm not going to say who, allow you to bring in wine or beer, and they could get their license yanked for it.
Worst part is that. You just bring in your own
No, yeah, so it's something that we're considering. We're not going to say no. We hear that a lot.
And Rocket, no vision for liquor license.
No, but we might invite you to something and not telling anybody about it.
So if we don't have any other questions, Jeff, you
I
have
got a
something?
question for you. So I moved here from Portland, which is downtown, if you know anything about downtown Portland, it's like strip club capital of the West. There are strip clubs everywhere, and the city has, it's just been integrated into the city. Living in Ann Arbor and hearing people talk about Ypsi, they constantly define it by the fact that there are strip clubs here as a disparaging thing. It's something, and I wonder if you find that that works against downtown as a, you know, in terms of your development, and if there is a way to change that narrative. Because obviously people who live here don't really care, but when you were talking about fistfights or talking about whatever it is that keeps people from choosing to move here, how do you get around that?
Let me say this, because I'm right across the street. My building is right across the street, and we have had tenants, prospective tenants, to come in and say, "Oh yeah, we like your building," and then they see that, and they say, "Okay, no, we can't be here." But because I'm right next door to them, they've been very good neighbors. You know, sidewalks, parking, security, all of that, and we've not had any problem. And I think the people who are in our building will tell you they haven't had any problem. But it has kept some from renting from us.
So how do you flip that narrative? How do you get people to go, it doesn't matter?
I think Jeff is asking us to make our strip club cooler and make it better, which I don't think is going to happen. So I mean, it's like, but it's, yeah, I mean, it's just not a, it's like a corporate strip club. It's not interesting, I would imagine, and
Put a big neon flag.
I don't think it's ever going to change.
It's not the lucky lady.
I mean, Ypsi was had more of a red light district, or maybe not red light district, but we had other places where there were dirty movies and things, but that got closed down over the last 6 or 7 years. And Ann Arbor before that had their 4th Avenue, which was prostitution and porn shops. So I mean, it's kind of on the way out here, but Deja Vu is hanging on. So. I was not expecting that question from you, Joe. That you would talk about how great the porn shops, the strip clubs were in Portland. I'm sure your family would love to see the video.
Yes. I'm sure I've lost several family members. No, I mean, the reason I asked that is there are some communities that, at least coming from the West Coast, who've learned how to work around that.
Well, Portland, they kind of like own that, and the women are like empowered and. I mean, for at least from what I hear, you know, but like it's not the same kind of seedy kind of like, oh, come here and take your clothes off because you're starving to death as a student. Like it's just kind of a disgusting kind of like nasty thing here. But I think there may be a little less. I don't know.
I can't speak from experience.
But Richard Murphy has a comment on this. He was raising his hand.
I was going to ask exactly the same question with the added comment that, you know, my organization is a tenant in Darryl's building. And it makes a great landmark whenever we're trying to give directions to the office. It's the easiest possible place to find in downtown Ypsilanti. You say, go to the Deja Vu, turn around, we're right across the street. And as Darryl says, they are, you know, despite any perception that outsiders might have, very good corporate tenants. They keep the space around their building very clean. They provide excellent eyes on the street as far as crime prevention. They take care of their part of Ypsilanti very well.
Another vote in favor of Deja Vu. Thank you, Richard Murphy. Another fellow wants to weigh in on this. Became a whole discussion on Deja Vu. This is great. So you first, and then Cree has a comment on Deja Vu. Gentleman here.
Every downtown that exists has adult establishments. I just came back from New Orleans. You know, it's part of the fabric of any downtown. And I just want to say again, what people keep restating, they're a good tenant to the downtown. They pay their taxes. They keep their premises clean. You know, they are what they are, and it's part of the fabric of this community.
Cree, you had something to say about Deja Vu?
Well, nothing is off Deja Vu. And I don't know, like in terms of keeping or building foot traffic in the area, food carts. I don't know the restrictions. I don't know, what's stopping someone? I think that might, having a consistent umbrella, hot dog cart, that deal with having someone see that day in, day out with like, okay, that's where place where people walk, that's where place where people are, like, what's the restriction?
I've thought about that before, but I think it's more foot traffic than it is legal issues. I just think there's not the foot traffic to support it, but maybe there is.
I would agree with that. I think I think there's plenty of room for that to grow, but right now I think that it's just a matter of foot traffic. When we contacted Ypsilanti when we first moved here, specifically about a food truck, they're like, we don't care, just do what you want. So. Yeah.
I think there's the lady in the red shirt, please.
One thing I love about Ypsi is that there are a lot of nonprofits here, and there's just a great volunteerism spirit here, a lot of volunteers here. I just wanted to say that I appreciated what Jesse did at the Wurst, where he donated part of profits to the nonprofit. I don't know what you called it, but I saw it on Facebook and how you, all the proceeds from that day went to a nonprofit that people voted on. So thank you for that, but my question was that how have you guys connected in other ways to the community? How have you connected to the nonprofits here? If you can answer
well,
that.
If you're a local business in Ypsi, you know the nonprofits because they come into your business. Well, the thing about it is a lot of them are your customers because there is a big nonprofit presence here in the city. A lot of people work for nonprofits, have started nonprofits here in the city. So yeah, you definitely have to be involved. I mean, obviously you have to pick your battles and figure out who you're going to donate to or whoever or do events. But yeah, I mean, I've reached out, and I know a lot of businesses downtown and Depottown have, definitely. So yeah, I mean, it's part of Ypsilanti, the nonprofit world, definitely. So
yeah, I imagine it can be overwhelming, the amount of asks that you guys must get to participate in things.
Yeah,
overwhelming.
Yeah, that part is overwhelming. We started out as an underground supper club, and we're completely nonprofit. We would, every event that we would do, we would donate everything above the cost of food to a different nonprofit every time we did one. And the last one we did was in October. I have a family member who's the director at SOS, and I mean, it's just woven into who we are. I mean, we're really connected with the nonprofit community here, so.
As far as anything we do with nonprofits, it's always, I try to gear it towards, they have to come up with the idea, except for the one you're talking about. That was a Facebook poll I did. But, they can use our space, they can use our products, and they can ask above and beyond what our costs are, and they can keep it as long as they, sponsor that event. They have to go out and, get the customers for it. So we have a pretty good partnership with who we've used so far as nonprofits go, and even some sporting teams and whatnot. But yeah, we're always getting asked. It's just, I always write a letter back. Hey, this is what has worked in the past. What can you do? Some people just don't take it any farther than that. But we're always willing to work with the people that are nonprofits.
Jeff, do you have final thoughts or anything you want to say?
No, I don't have any final thoughts. I mostly want to thank you all for coming out. This is awesome that you're.
Thank you to Concentrate, because I think this wouldn't have happened otherwise without your support and your proposal of doing this.
Happy to do it. And if you have ideas for other events that we can do in Ypsilanti, please shoot me an email. It's jeff@concentratemedia.com. I am happy to take suggestions, comments, criticisms. I'll ignore those. But I'm happy, please communicate with us that we're trying to be in the community as much as possible. Mark, thank you so much. I think Mark is a great interviewer. Buzz off.
Thank you.
Thank you.